From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update. Your weekend weather update is made possible by Caltrans District 2.
Have you been following Weather NorCal for a while and you haven't downloaded the app yet? It might be because you don't know about it. And I want to remind you that there is a free Weather NorCal app. Just a quick reminder, if you love what Weather NorCal has to offer, you're going to love it even more once you get the app, because the app gives you everything right from your phone that Weather NorCal has to offer. So be sure to check it out. Go to your app store, search for Weather NorCal, look for that icon, click install, and you are good to go. Let's take a look at your weather headlines. And we've got actually some isolated showers, sprinkles tonight. What's crazy about all of this, and you're going to see what I'm talking about, you probably already know what I'm talking about, right, is even since last week we've been talking about this big heat wave heading our way for next week. But before we get there, we've got showers in the forecast, we've got a mild start to the work week, but then the bigger heat kicks in, and it will last through a good portion of the week. And even though we expect temperatures to drop going into the weekend, it's still going to be hot. It just won't be close to 110 degrees hot, right? So we look at your neighborhood forecast for tomorrow. It doesn't look bad, does it? 70s for the mountains, upper 50s, low 60s for the coast, mid 80s for the valley. That's around normal for this time of the year. Now, this also, you see the morning showers. This is going to be overnight tonight, early tomorrow morning. Most of you will be asleep when most of it comes through. And it won't even be a lot, by the way. We're talking passing sprinkles, a few light showers here or there. That's it. By late afternoon, most of it's gone, and we're actually looking at clearing skies by the second half of the day tomorrow. Now the winds, again, I want to keep talking about the fire danger. We're in that time of the year. We need to be aware of what's going on with the winds, the humidity, and the fire danger, right? So that's why I kind of really like to focus on that. So you can see as we go into tomorrow morning, a little breezy to the north and east. Elsewhere, not that bad, but tomorrow afternoon, they pick up a little bit in the valley, but we've certainly seen worse. Still some gusty winds from the west for the eastern mountains. And in all things considered, can't really complain on the coast because the winds won't be as strong as they have been. And that's the case even going into your Tuesday. However, Tuesday is, especially in the afternoon, those winds picking up probably around 30 miles per hour or higher in the valley, a little breezy off of the north and east, but once again, not as bad for the coast. So again, we look at the humidity. Now, when we look at these humidity levels, I want you to remember that we typically see very dry conditions in the single digits. So when we see humidity of around 20% or even 25%, we think, oh, it's not that bad. It is. 20% humidity is still quite low. We have to remember that. All right, but we typically see lower than that. And that's going to be the case going into your Tuesday as well. I think it might be a little bit lower than that 28, but you get the idea. We're going to be in the 20% range here through the next couple of days. So when we factor in the heat, the humidity, and the winds, well, for Monday, again, not that hot, not as windy, so we have low fire danger. But by Tuesday, you saw the winds picking up. This is the beginning of the heat wave on Tuesday, highs of 100 degrees or higher, and low humidity. So we're talking about high fire danger on Tuesday. Something to keep in the back of your mind as we start this heat wave going in. So you can see the warmer air that's in place, cooler air moving in tomorrow. That's going to allow us to see those cooler temperatures for those daytime highs. But then going into Tuesday and Wednesday, high pressure is going to start to build in. We are going to see our first heat wave of the year moving in Tuesday and Wednesday. Now that sticks around, probably peaks around Wednesday, Thursday. Then by the end of next week, going into next weekend, we're going to start to see this ridge of high pressure begin to break down a little bit. What's going to happen is a piece of energy will break off from this. It'll kind of bring down to the south here. And what's going to happen is we have this ridge of high pressure, right? But this is what we call undercutting that ridge. That tends to break it down, weaken it a little bit, and as a result, our temperatures do drop slightly. So again, we're going from 105, 106, 107 to the mid to upper 90s, which is still hot, but at least we're breaking away from those triple digits. So when we look at the trend, you can see here for the valley, they peak around Wednesday, Thursday, and then they start to drop. So again, still hot, still well above normal, but at least we're breaking away from those triple digits. For the mountains, Weaverville, Hayfork, I think you'll be right around 100 degrees during the peak, even going into your Friday close to it, and then temperatures start to drop again after that. Now, not quite as hot for places like Mount Shasta, Alturas, probably in the mid to upper 90s there, but it's still going to be rather warm. All right, and take a look at the trend for the coast. You're also seeing the up and down here, just not as dramatic as anywhere else. But you can see here it kind of peaks Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before we get closer to normal for this time of the year. And I think some places on the coast could even reach the low 70s, especially out towards Del Norte County around Crescent City. And by the way, the excessive heat watch has been upgraded to an excessive heat warning for the valley and the surrounding foothills. 95 temperatures, mid to upper 90s in the mountains and the foothills, and over 100 degrees as we take you down into the valley, where of course it'll be much hotter there. So the Weather Service puts out what's known as a heat risk every day and for a week to give us an idea what to expect. This is when we start paying attention to it. And for the most part, the valley on Tuesday will be in that moderate risk. And that is when most people, not everyone, but most people who are sensitive to heat, especially without proper cooling and or hydration. So just making sure that people have proper air conditioning and not to mention plenty of water to drink. Now Wednesday, that's when we're in a major heat risk. That is basically saying, hey, it affects anyone who doesn't have air conditioning or enough water to drink. All right, and that's going to be the same situation going into your Thursday as well. So what we can take from this is that if you're okay, if you've got air conditioning, you've got plenty of water to drink, you'll be fine as long as you take it easy and don't do too much outside, right? But it's also a time for you to start thinking about your friends, your family, your relatives, anybody, right, that needs help. Maybe they don't have proper way to stay cool. Maybe they don't have enough water to drink to stay hydrated. That's where you can come in and help them out. This is also that time of the year, I know, and you're probably seeing it everywhere all over social media, but it's my duty to help remind you that we have to start thinking about how this heat can impact you. So it's important to understand the differences between heat exhaustion and heat stroke. All right, so heat exhaustion is when you feel faint or dizzy, excessive sweating, cool, pale, clammy skin, nausea or vomiting, rapid, weak pulse, and then, of course, muscle cramping. All right, that's signs of heat exhaustion. When you have that sign, that can lead you to a heat stroke. So what you need to do at this point is cool off, get into an air-conditioned place, and drink water, and lots of it. Okay. Now, if you have signs of heat stroke, it's when you have a throbbing headache and confusion, no sweating. You also have your body temperature above 130 degrees with red hot dry skin, rapid strong pulse, nausea or vomiting, and you may lose consciousness. If you see anybody with these signs, call 911. Get them to a hospital immediately so they can get the medical attention they need. All right, enough about the heat. I'm getting hot just thinking about it and talking about it. Let's talk about the cooler temperatures to start off the work week, though, and the chance for rain. You know, it's hard to believe I've just been talking about this major heat wave, and here we are looking at a chance for some rain tonight. Now, I want to remind you that the bulk of the rain, the heaviest rainfall, will be along the coast, especially in Del Norte County. That's where I think we can see some decent measurable amounts of rainfall. Elsewhere, we're talking scattered sprinkles, maybe a passing shower or two, and most of it will occur tonight and early tomorrow morning when most of you are asleep and in bed. You'll probably maybe head off to work with slightly wet roads, damp roads, but not a big deal. And then by the time you get to 8 a.m. on Monday, yeah, a few passing sprinkles here and there, still mainly cloudy skies, but those showers move out and it dries, and we also see parting skies. We're actually going to see more sunshine by the second half of the day on Monday. And then on Tuesday, it looks like partly cloudy skies for the north end of the area, places like Siskiyou, Modoc County, but also maybe seeing some clouds along the coast. All right, so let's talk about your wave heights. They're actually increasing a little bit here for your Monday, but there at this point are no small craft advisories, and I don't anticipate to see much change in those wave heights. If anything, they maybe drop a little bit here going into your Tuesday. So looking at your marine forecast, as I mentioned, no advisories, but we do have the winds from the west at 5 knots, waves from the south at about 3 feet at 4 seconds, and from the west 6 feet at about 10 seconds. Okay, so here's what it looks like tonight. So with the cloud cover moving in and the chance for a passing sprinkle or a light shower tonight, temperature is going to be fairly mild. The clouds will insulate us and keep us from really cooling off a whole lot. So it'll be a mild start to the day. Upper 60s to about 70. Really, for those overnight lows in the valley, we're talking 50s, even some 60s for some of the higher elevations, and low 50s out along the coast. All right, so here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. I think it's overdoing it there for Douglas City, but you get the idea. Generally in the mid-80s. Some of the higher elevations and cooler areas will be in the 60s for those daytime highs. Let's take you to the north coast for central southern Humboldt County. 72 degrees for Alder Point, 73 for Garberville, and Blue Lake 64. Temperatures, yeah, there is going to be an increase. In fact, we'll see the peak around Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then those temperatures will start to drop by the weekend. Let's take a look at your North Coast neighborhood forecast to the north. Delaware County, temperatures in the 50s along the coast, 60s inland, and there you can see 66 for Orleans, a little bit warmer in Hoopa and Willow Creek in the low 70s there. I don't think we're going to quite see 100 degrees for the inland areas or even the mountains, but it's getting warm. Mount Shasta, you're peaking on Thursday, the high of 94 degrees before you're back in the 80s by this upcoming weekend. For Modoc County, El Turris looks like you're going to top out in the low 90s through at least Sunday, and then in the mid 80s through at least Saturday, that is, and then it looks like in the 80s, low 80s by Sunday. All right, here's a look at your Susanville 7-day forecast. Upper 70s for Wednesday, Thursday, upper 90s. Upper 90s. Am I getting heat stroke? I don't know. Upper 90s here, 97 for Thursday, Friday about 95. And there you can see those temperatures starting to drop as we take you into the weekend. All right, let's take a look at your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by NorCal Tractor. Those temperatures in the upper 80s, about 87 degrees for Orland, 88 for Willows, 86 for Corning, and 87 for Durham. Not a bad start to your work week, right? But oh, wouldn't you know, Mother Nature has always a way of just messing with us, right? Because we're going from 85 degrees on Monday for Redding to 101 on Tuesday, to 107 on Wednesday, and then temperatures start to slowly drop after that. And still hot over the weekend with highs in the mid-90s.